KMCV News is coming up in a minute, and here's a look at what's in store. The New York Times has a front-page article in Sunday's paper on unfavorable alien working conditions in the NMI.
Operation Tandem Thrust turns out to be Tandem Bust. The military pulls out of their Tinian military exercise because of worsening weather.
And a book about the war on Saipan is offered up for sale to Rotarians today by its publisher, J.M. Guerrero.
Those stories plus Tropical Storm Nathan information coming up next on KMCV News.
Buenas noches para todos, Hamzu Tata, Saipan Luta Dantinian, Guahusi Carlotta de Leon Guerrero.
Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday cast of KMCV News. I'm Nanette Miranda. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Longshot Willie will be with us later on with a look at the day's weather, and Loren Harrison sits in for Vicki Tadella with the latest Tropical Storm Nathan information.
But first, topping our news this evening. Government leaders are trying to put out fires amidst the hype of Sunday's New York Times front page heralding Saipan sweatshops are no American dream. The story alleges labor abuses in garment factories here in Saipan, which might influence congressional leaders deciding the fate of CNMI's 702 agreement. It paints a broad but unfavorable picture of the workers' lives and wages. This afternoon, Governor Larry Guerrero said he had not seen the article, but he did say that he hopes federal officials would not pay attention to those headlines. Assistant Interior Secretary Leslie Turner, who was here recently, saw for herself the conditions of the garment factories. The governor says that her first-hand experience should speak for itself.
But I hope that the people that are going to make a decision, which is the U.S. Congress, would not tend to be convinced of what that paper's saying, you know. I think we have a representative that has been out here. We have time to time, we have official visitors from Washington, D.C. that visiting us here. And those are the people that they should try to get more facts or factual informations or try to get really what's happening. Unfortunately, that this thing, perhaps it is just only pre-planned for the purposes of the upcoming 702 deliberations, okay? It is very unfortunate, really, that here we are here, we're trying to do the best we can in trying to address whatever concerns that not necessarily what's in that paper.
Our 702 funding is currently in conference between the U.S. and House Senate.
Senate President Juan Demapon says he called off the Senate session today because the House has failed to go into session. According to his cancellation notice, Demapon writes, and we're quoting, "Due to the delay of House action on several pieces of critical reform legislation, including necessary action on the 93 budget, the special session scheduled for this afternoon at 2 o'clock is hereby canceled until further notice," end quote. Demapon says the cancellation gives the senators time to review and revise Senate Bill 8-124 due to the input received during 2 recent public hearings. Demapon says he will call the Senate into session when Senate action is required. Speaker Tomas Vidzagomez says he's not sure why the Senate President is so concerned about what the House is doing. Speaker Tomas Vidzagomez says the alien labor bill has been around since the 7th legislature, and he says every time it goes to the Senate they rework it, requiring another review from the House. As for the 93 budget, Vidzagomez says the House is not going to give in to the Senate's demand for more FTEs or full-time employees for Rota and Tinian. He says the Senate wants to add another 20 government positions to each island. The Speaker in a phone interview says, and we're quoting, "The CNMI government is not a recruiting agency. Enough is enough," end quote.
The turbulent history of the Northern Marianas during the 20th century comes to life in a new book called Saipan in Flames. It was written by economist Bill Stewart in cooperation with former Governor Pedro Tenorio and tourism consultant J.M. Guerrero. The book contains many declassified top-secret military documents and plans. It also emphasizes the World War II battle for Saipan. In a speech before the Rotary Club this afternoon, consultant Guerrero says the book was a project to contribute to the NMI's rich past.
It started out about a year ago the former governor and I were just sitting down, us retirees, and have a lot of free time, just chatting over beer, and so we got to do something symbolic that will be part of Saipan history other than our service in government.
The book is published in conjunction with International Friendship Year, which is next year, and to coincide with the inauguration of American Memorial Park during next year's 50th anniversary celebrations of the Battle of Saipan.
In court news, the defense for the man accused of running over and killing local businessman Sidney Kwan made a move today in Superior Court to suppress evidence. Public Defender Ted Christopher, representing Francisco Romangmao, motioned to have certain statements made by Romangmao withheld. But Judge Alex Castro denied that motion, stating that the defense failed to set forth enough facts for him to grant the suppression. Romangmao faces a jury on August 23rd.
A Filipino national charged with 7 counts of theft and forgery is set to appear in court next week for a preliminary hearing. Samuel Samante, whose tourist visa expired 2 weeks ago, was arrested over the weekend and is being held on $50,000 bail. He was scheduled to have an arraignment today, but the public defender assigned to the case did not show up for the procedure. Another public defender, Dan DiRienzo, asked Judge Marty Taylor that since Samante had no attorney at this time, that a preliminary hearing be scheduled. The judge granted DiRienzo's request. The hearing is set for Tuesday, July 27th.
When we come back, we take a look at Operation Tandem Thrust, and we also tell you what life on a battleship is like.
And we'll also tell you about the folks who clean up at the American Memorial Park every day.
Education is the key to better courses in construction management, and that could hit the nail right on the head. Leaders from the CNMI Contractors Association gathered at the college president's office today to endorse a new program that the school will offer. It's called Construction Management, and it's designed to train local students for high positions in the construction industry. Herman Guerrero, president of the local Contractors Association, says that he is pleased to see that this course is finally being offered at the college level.
We feel that we need to train, and it is high time we train our local people to take full responsibility in management of construction. But the question is, where do we begin? How do we begin? And we were kind of blessed when this opportunity come to us.
The construction management program was approved by the National Organization of Contractors, and it's slated to begin this fall at the college.
Weekends are often filled with fun, but when Mondays come along, it is evident that those having fun aren't being responsible. Here's a report on the litter epidemic here on Saipan. This picture is not as pretty as it seems. Only a few yards away along the shore is garbage, and lots of it. It's not only a problem on the beach, it's also a problem at the parks. Just ask the people at American Memorial, who clean it up every day.
You get mad when you're the one who's doing the job and people are coming in and using up the place when it's clean and then they leave it dirty.
The people who pick up after careless picnickers are often volunteers. It's a thankless job, but there doesn't seem to be any cooperation among the residents of Saipan.
I like to help the park because I want the park nicely and clean.
Do you think it's nice and clean now?
No.
I think it's gross, and they need to stop throwing trash in the park.
To make matters worse, people even bring trash from home to dump it there.
And the reason why I say it's home trash, you can see it's stuff that was from a refrigerator, or just garbage that have collected over a period of time, something that you wouldn't have in a picnic.
Ranger Workman says litter isn't at all good for anyone.
It doesn't beautify the area much with a lot of garbage hanging around, plus it's a sanitary problem.
The flies also hover over leftover goodies, making it uncomfortable for anyone to enjoy public facilities.
The main thing is, just think of it as you want to reuse a picnic site, and so if you leave it for the next person may not use it or just move on to another site, and if they don't abuse, or if they abuse it, then it just collects and collects until finally we come in and clean it up, and then the process starts all over again.
I would advise them to use the park properly. Like when they come over and they see that it's clean, they leave the place clean, you know. We have trash can all over the place.
That's a good example.
All they gotta do is just put their trash in the trash cans.
An education campaign is now in the works to get people to change their picnic habits. Until that is in effect, flies, trash, as well as ants will continue to be picnic regulars here.
We're working on a story right now about Operation Tandem Thrust, but Glenn Wakai filed one earlier today. He says that for most people, going to the dentist is not the most enjoyable experience. But how would you like to get your teeth drilled by a dentist that's swaying back and forth? Glenn Wakai continues his series on sea life by examining dental service on the USS Blue Ridge.
Word of mouth has it that crew members on the USS Blue Ridge have teeth that are in ship shape.
Well, these guys are in pretty good shape overall. And the key is if you take care of them, then you'll keep them.
Spoken like a true dentist.
How's it look?
Better.
How does it differ going to a dentist on a ship versus going to one back home?
I don't have to wait in line.
But sometimes he has to wait for the dental chair to stop moving. Dr. Leary wants to ensure that patients say ah and not ouch.
The rolling motion of the ship is such that you can adapt to it, but we'll stop if we feel it's unsafe. We aren't going to do anything.
Leary says he can do practically anything that a land practicing dentist can do. There's only a single cavity that separates the two.
The one thing that I don't do is prosthetics, which is crowns, bridges, just because we don't have the laboratory gear on the ship to do that.
However, something Leary is able to do is take his plaque fighting show to foreign lands. He has seen the inside of mouths from a slew of Asian countries.
Sometimes you can do what's known as a civilian action project, where you'll go ahead and take your dental techs and some equipment and provide treatment to people.
Tomorrow we'll head into our final installment of Sea Life by looking at the latest haircut trends on the USS Bellawood. On the Philippine Sea, I'm Glenn Wakai, KMCV News.
We have a story now about Operation Tandem Thrust. That script right here. It was supposed to be the culmination of a large-scale joint military operation. However, Tandem Thrust quickly turned into Tandem Bust. Military officers found Mother Nature to be their biggest enemy. They called off the operation 2 days ahead of schedule. Once again, Glenn Wakai reports on the final day of Tandem Thrust.
It was an exciting opening. Just after daybreak, 8 helicopters brought Marines to the West Field.
At that time, when helicopters landed and dispersed their troops, they engaged a reinforced squad of the OPFOR, the Sonorans. There was a battle. There were a number of casualties on both sides.
An hour later, Tandem Thrust became a casualty. The superior enemy was Tropical Storm Nathan's intermittent downpours. Major Tony Borja had to bring the bad news to Tinian Mayor James Mendiola.
The exercise has been terminated. The people were asked to prepare for an evacuation. We're beginning evacuation this morning. We hope to evacuate 283 personnel by 18:30 this evening. We have 5 C-130s. We're going to pull as many passengers as possible in their personal gear.
I hope that this weather permits you guys to complete it, but nature doesn't allow us, and I hope you could bring back to your commander that they are always welcome to do it again, and it's been a good relationship between the military and the civilian.
The civilians weren't the only ones that were disappointed by the announcement.
It's kind of an anticlimax in the fact that we don't get to go through the the war aspect of it, the war type training, but this is still good training.
As everybody's starting to get into their role, and yesterday it was canceled, so we were kind of disappointed. You start losing momentum, so now today they said, okay, it's going on, so we were all really pumped up. They made the landing on the airport, and man, it looked like things were going to happen, and then an hour into the play, they call it. Now they say it's an evacuation.
Only 280 participants made it to Tinian, far less than 1,000 that were expected.
This breakdown and cleanup wasn't supposed to happen until the end of the week. If this were a real combat situation, McRae says the operation would probably continue. But he says the risks far outweigh the benefits.
See, we have already accomplished a lot of things, and people have already gotten a lot of training out of this. there have been a lot of gates met and things done. So it's not a total wash. Like I said, there's some people like guys sitting on Guam that aren't going to get any, aren't going to get a whole lot out of this. But for the most part, most of the people have gotten what they came here for.
McRae says the only participants that didn't gain anything from tandem thrust are the 400 soldiers that never left Andersen Air Force Base on Guam. He feels transporting them to Tinian could have been hazardous.
And some damage to some of the sophisticated equipment that's here, and we wouldn't have, that would have been costly. Plus, we might have put some of the personnel here at risk.
If this were a combat situation, McRae says the decision probably would have been different.
They fly the planes longer than they should, or the pilots are up longer than they normally are, or people drive their vehicles without as much maintenance maybe as they should, you know, because they have a focus, and that's to win in the conflict that they're in. And this situation, there's no winners or losers here in that sense. Everybody's a winner in the training sense.
Most of the soldiers have already been sent back to their ships or to Guam. The military hopes to have the evacuation completed by 6:30 tonight. After Tropical Storm Nathan passes over the area, the military will be back to pick up some equipment and a few servicemen. On Tinian, I'm Glenn Wakai, KMCV News.
Welcome back to the Weather Report. I'm Lauren Harrison. Governor Lorenzo de Leon Guerrero has put the Commonwealth into Tropical Storm Condition 3 due to a tropical storm kicking up around our part of the Pacific. According to information released by the Disaster Control Office, at 12 o'clock, Tropical Storm Nathan was located at 14.6 degrees north latitude and 148.5 degrees east longitude, or approximately 200 miles east-southeast of Saipan. Tropical Storm Nathan is packing center winds of 40 miles per hour, gusting to 50 miles per hour. Nathan is moving west-northwest at 9 miles per hour. On its current track, Tropical Storm Nathan is expected to pass through the Mariana Islands north of Saipan tomorrow morning. At the time, residents on Saipan and Tinian can expect winds of 65 miles per hour. The governor is advising all residents to prepare for the increased winds and to drive carefully in low-lying areas. We had mostly cloudy skies today with intermittent rain showers due to the approach of Tropical Storm Nathan. Let's take a look at our ocean conditions for tonight. The seas will be slight to moderate at 2 to 4 feet. The surf 3 to 5 feet on the northern clockwise through southeastern exposures, and 1 to 3 feet elsewhere. Our tides tonight begin with a high tide of 2.5 feet at 9:18. This evening dropping to a low of 1.4 feet at 4:03 tomorrow morning. Tonight we can look forward to mostly cloudy skies with scattered light showers. Winds will be 7 to 12 miles per hour, gusting to 25 miles per hour. Tomorrow, increasing winds, seas, and surf are in the forecast as Tropical Storm Nathan passes through our islands. And that's it for the weather report.
Thank you, Lauren. That was very good. We are out of time, and we'd like to invite you to stay tuned for Asunto Siente Tomorrow News with Mina De La Cruz. And we'd also like to invite you to join us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. for the John Anderson Show. John's guest will be Guam Congressman Robert Underwood. On behalf of the entire KMCV News team, thanks for spending part of your evening with us. We'll see you again tomorrow night. Good night.
Yes.
Thank you.